Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren, the film student extraordinaire, and I have extraordinarily long nails today. Just did them. Anyways, today we are going into part 2 of going through the Hollywood Game Plan book. Today's unit is Get Smart.
I was kissing you with my eyes open. You said keep them close.
The first of these videos will be linked down below, and remember to subscribe so you don't miss the next couple videos in this series. Basically, in order to get smart, we need to arrive in town, and by in town I mean the LA area, prepared. Now if you're going to New York, obviously the town would be New York City. This book really focuses on LA, but some of the things I will try to make applicable to New York City as well. So it appears that the first thing you really want to have is a wide net of contacts, people you know out there. Now when I went to LA over the summer, I did not really know anyone. Like I knew a couple people from who were my parents' friends, and that was basically it. I sort of knew who my boss was going to be from Zoom calls, but I didn't really know anybody. Now though, when I'm planning on moving out there, I know people because I know people who I met over the summer, and I know other people from Temple who have moved out there or are planning on moving out there. However, once I have a few more details settled down, I may try to do more work on LinkedIn, using Owl Connect for Temple stuff, to try to find a couple more people to try to meet when I go there. To, have coffee. I don't drink coffee, but I'll have tea or something, just to really feel like I'm putting some roots in the area. This is a really good point that the book included, which was to reach out to everyone you know, because you never know who they know, right? Potentially your friend is not in the film business, but maybe they know someone who is, who can help you. Help you not necessarily just getting a job, but help you to figure out what neighborhood to live in, maybe a great community group to join. I would say if you only think of your connections as a way to get a specific job and make money, then that'll make things really superficial. But if you're just trying to legitimately meet people and, find a community for yourself out in LA, I think that's a better way to go. The book also says that if you can afford it, try to come to LA a week to 10 days before your job starts, before you need a job to start. That way you can meet people in person and just take the time to get accustomed to the area. I'd say that does sound really nice, but that's probably not crazy realistic. It depends, I suppose, when the job's starting and when you can find an apartment that the lease opens up. But personally, I would say my goal is not to try to get there 7 to 10 days before my job starts. It'll just work out with the timing, how the timing works out. Something the book says is to drive around LA to get a good overview of the town, the layout, and figure out how long it takes to get from point A to point B, in traffic, without traffic, on the weekends, on the weekday, etc. I think that sounds like a good plan. I did not do any driving when I was in LA. I was in cars, but I did not physically drive. So I will definitely need to practice driving in LA. I'm not a huge city driver in general, but I accept that I need to work on that and become comfortable and confident driving in a city with crazy drivers. So the book says you need a car in LA, and I would have to agree. As someone who did not have a car, I was always mooching off my friends' cars, or taking, a couple times I would Uber someplace, or I took the subway ones, but for the most part, the public transportation was not great, so I did need a car. Now we have some common terminology that I'm just going to read off. So there's the coast, which means the Pacific Coast Highway. Over the hill, which is Studio City in the San Fernando Valley. Taking the canyon. The canyon is one of several routes from LA into the valley and vice versa. The canyon roads are super cool, so pretty. I was drooling over them when we drove through. The Strip, which is Sunset Strip. WeHo or WeHo. I assume it's WeHo because even though it stands for West Hollywood, I don't think anyone would say WeHo. Anyways, the Fashion District, which is located downtown near Santee Alley. I guess that's what it is. And then Main Street is a street in Santa Monica. So once you have some connections and you have a sense of where the layout of the land is, you have to remember that you have to find somewhere to live. Oh yeah, living somewhere. Right. So ideally you want to have a place where it's close-ish to where your job is, so you don't have the worst commute ever, close to activities and things you want to do, and where you can meet people and have fun. Now there's a ton of different places. I'm just going to kind of rattle them off. They're in order of alphabetical order, so not in order of price. So the location areas that the book talked about were Beverly Hills, which I will say they said, like, don't bother, it's too expensive starting out, like, just go visit Rodeo Drive. Burbank, that's where I stayed over the summer. Century City, Culver City, Downtown, Echo Park, Hollywood, Hollywood Hills, Koreatown, Los Feliz, Malibu, Miracle Mile, North Hollywood, Pasadena, Santa Monica, Silver Lake, Studio City, the Valley, Venice, and West Hollywood. I would say that I'm considering a lot of places in North Hollywood, sort of a little in Burbank, but mostly in NoHo for where I want to live when I move out there. So now you got your place to live, but you need people, you need friends. So the book recommended joining like a club sport. I'm not a huge sporty person, so I may try to find like a dance group or a community orchestra, join a choir because I like to sing. I would say if you like sports, obviously, yeah, that'd be great to try to join like a little local sports like community group, because that's a great way to bond with people if you already have something in common. I think that's a great idea, and I mean, that's like in college, right? Like you join clubs to meet people. So I think it's just like the same thing, just like applied from college to the real world. So you're in LA, you have friends, you have a place to live, but you have not found your industry job. Well, this is when the book says that you need to find a day job because your money's probably running out if it's been a month or two and you have not found a job. So they have a couple ideas / like criteria for these day jobs. They want it to be in proximity to people in show business, so maybe working as like a temp in an agency or somewhere where they serve people in showbiz, or working like on a studio lot in even like the coffee shop or something, or somewhere where a lot of creative people are working. And two, that it's not so demanding you can't pursue your own aspirations. So like basically that you're not working such long hours every week that you have no time to work on your own scripts, you have no time to try to hustle to get on a set, and you have no time for any outside gigs because all your time and effort is put into your day job. Now, I know that I want a job that is, I would consider to be slightly more stable. I don't want to be just like starting out right on production jobs all the time. I'm hoping for like a more company type of position, and hopefully it'll be amazing because I love what I'm doing, but also that I'll have like the weekends or sometime in the evenings to work on my own projects. That is my plan. This is not the time to try to find just your dream job. I mean, obviously if you could somehow land your dream job immediately after you move to LA or move to New York, like all power to you. But if you can't, just try to find something that interests you and go from there. Now we have finding a path to development and producing. So this will be a lot more of me reading my notes here because I don't want to mess up some stuff, but I will try to be looking up as best as I can. Yeah, I'm just trying to like bulk film some stuff right now because things are about to get hectic in life. Development and producing cover a huge expanse of jobs that cross over between film, TV, commercials, concert videos, premiere themed entertainment, original online content, and pretty much every other form of entertainment. So obviously I'm interested mostly in film and TV, but I also think live entertainment's very interesting, and basically anything you watch somebody has produced. That's basically it. And if for it to be produced, it had to be originated, and that would be development. One option to get in this world is to just be an entrepreneur and do everything yourself. Because if you make a film, if you produced a film or directed it, wrote it, and then it goes to a festival, then you're like, I made this. And then you can use that to get your next position. However, that requires a lot of time, a lot of money, and you really can't necessarily do other things on the side, depending on how fast you want the process to be. There are people who you may have seen on YouTube or TikTok who then get their own shows, their own movies. For example, Addison Rae was just in She's All That, I believe. And it was either She's All That or He's All That, whichever one was like the revamp. And she's a content creator who just got her start through TikTok, which is crazy. And technically still a possibility for anybody watching. However, most of this video will be talking about the more traditional approach to getting into development and producing. Now, there's tons of different tracks, so we're just going to start, like, it's just in the order the book had, which is not in alphabetical order, it's in, like, just some random order. So we're starting with writers. Without writers, like, no one has a job in Hollywood, right? Because someone has to come up with these ideas and flesh them out, at least to the point where you can talk to people, find actors, cast, and come up with some kind of plan. You might be like, well, what about reality shows? Well, even in reality shows, there are TV writers who are usually called story producers, and that's why you may hear people who have been on reality TV shows talk later in articles or on social media and say that like things are staged or things are kind of cut around to make it look like something was happening that wasn't really happening, or vice versa. And I think that's, that's just something to take in mind when you watch any kind of reality TV show. Take it with a grain of salt. Understand that someone is controlling the narrative that you're seeing. And that's why in every competition show, there's always a villain. And you're like, well, this person really as terrible as they seem, or did you just take all their worst lines and looks to create this narrative? So how do you become a writer? The book says, write a lot of bad scripts and keep writing until they get good. Then write more until they're great. So you gotta just write. That's basically it. You can also create an original piece of work without getting paid, like a spec script, and hope that someone will like it and buy it, versus like trying to get hired to write a script. Then there's the producer, which depending on the project, that title could mean literally so many things. We're also going to talk about there's two different types of producers, the creative producers and line producers. The creative producer could be the person who works like the hardest on the project. They're probably there from the very beginning of the project. They're the ones who try to help find someone to help develop the script. They push for it to be greenlit. They hire the director, and then they work with the rest of the crew, and they're there through the whole process into even post-production and beyond. So this is a lot of hustling. You gotta, schmooze, raise money. As I said, like sometimes an Oscar-winning film takes over a decade to be fully made, fleshed out. Not every movie is just banged out. Sorry, I might just snap, but I was a little nervous with these nails. Now in TV, the person with this kind of creative power might be the executive producer or the showrunner. And how do you get into this job? Well, ideally, you can produce your own project, because then you literally are the producer. Like, you already have that title. But a more like easier way potentially can be to start as a senior level executive or be an assistant, some way, and then you can transition from that senior position to a creative producer through a production deal. Say maybe like, oh, we'll agree to finance this film if I get to be in this role, or we'll pay some money, or we'll do something with it if I get this deal. And that's the production deal. Then there's the line producer, and the line producer really helps make the production actually happen. So they would be the liaison between creativity and production. So they're like, hey, okay, we need these props. Well, do we have the money for that? What's the schedule like? Are things going well? What's our deal with transportation? They're kind of like overseeing a lot of the logistics of production. And how do you get in? You need a lot of experience. Like, you need to start as a PA, maybe a production secretary, and just work your way up the food chain, basically. Maybe you start, as I said, a PA, become a coordinator, become a production manager, and then you become a line producer. Then we have directors. Ooh, that's what I want to be. So directors, a lot of people you may talk to want to be a director because there's like a lot of power that a director has on the set, and they do have a lot of influence, but they're definitely not the only ones in a state of authority on a film set, and that's important to recognize. However, they do develop the creative vision, and they bring that vision to life, which is the magical thing that I love about it. So how do you get in? Basically, in order to get a job as a director, you have to already be a director. So basically again, you have to do work for free / build your own, work on your own projects. Now, at a certain point when you're making your own films, you all have to allot money for yourself, for your crew to like survive. At this point in my career, because I'm still at college, when I crowdfunded money for my films, I don't allot any of that money to like myself or the crew. Like, only certain crew members or people involved will get paid. Most people do it for the experience / they're also film students. This book says to direct student films, inexpensive music videos, and online projects, which I think I don't do really the music videos, but I do direct online projects sometimes in a way, and I definitely direct student films. It also recommends to write a screenplay that is so good you attach yourself as the director. So this is similar to that production deal where basically you have a script that is so amazing, someone wants to buy it, and you're like, I'm not selling it unless I will direct the movie. And if it's good enough and they agree to it, then boom, you're a director. Again, they can say you can start as a PA or be an assistant to a director or a producer. I would love to be a director's assistant because it's a great way to really learn everything that a director does. It may not be always a glamorous job, but it is, from what I hear, very like informative and can be really fun. I am going to switch the camera batteries now, so if the angle changes, that's why. So it's been maybe like 2 hours. I realized that I actually left the other battery at school, so I had to charge the battery that was in the camera. Say you're an actor. I think we all know what an actor does. How do you get in? Basically, you have to do a lot of work, like everything else in the industry and in general in life. There's a lot of focus, you gotta have commitment, and people have to see your work. People have to know you exist. The book also recommends that you take classes with industry professionals as teachers who may help you like to meet someone, and to register with a service to find available roles, you know, utilizing sites like Backstage, for instance, wherever you are to get positions. And now I'm freezing. I'm gonna put on my sweater. Oh my god, this video is a mess. Next is the role of the executive. Now again, there are lots of different executives. We have development executives, who is a creative executive, and then a production executive does production stuff. Kind of as it sounds. And those are two like big branches. A creative executive decides which project is going to be put into development, which means what project is the studio or company actually going to try to make happen, starting from a script. It is a huge decision. Then a production executive will pretty much represent the studio's interests when it comes to the film being made and make sure that it's running smoothly, staying on budget, because it's, you know, coming out of the studio's pocket. In TV, the titles will be development executive and current executive. And how you get in? It's going to be pretty much the same thing. You start off as an assistant. You could start off at a talent agency because according to the book, assistants at talent agencies are usually the first to hear about this kind of job. I have no idea if that's true or not because I've never been an assistant at a talent agency. Then we have readers and story analysts. So a reader or story analyst will evaluate and summarize material that's been submitted to studios, networks, production companies, etc. Basically to see like, should we make this movie? Is it good enough? The book recommends you call every place in the creative and representative directories. So there's just like tons of those depending on where you live, like you can Google them. And also IMDb Pro and ask if they're hiring readers. So IMDb Pro I have never used. I'm saving my 1 month free trial for some time when I need it. Being a reader or story analyst is apparently a typical path for someone to try to become an executive producer or a writer. Which makes sense because you're seeing, well, what do studios want to develop, and also you're seeing, like, you're reading so many scripts. Then we have agents/managers. The big difference is that an agent will get, like, just jobs for clients, like a job. But managers will be there, like, long-term and provide, like, also emotional support. Additionally, an agent needs to be licensed, and a manager does not, which is interesting. Managers who also want to become producers will try to, like, you know, sign themselves on as well to projects that their clients are attached to. So technically becoming a manager is a pathway to becoming a producer. A lot of major training agencies like UTA will have, you know, training programs where you literally still start in the mailroom. I'm not even kidding. So you can do that, and that's the only tip the book gave. The final above the line position talked about in the book would be business affairs executives / entertainment lawyers. Which you may not even think about, but basic, of course, anytime there's a lot of people involved, there's a lot of money involved, there's going to be lawyers involved. Now this person will represent the company in negotiating deals. They could work in a firm, they could work independently, do whatever. They do need a law degree. So how do you get into this part of the business? Well, the book says a prestigious law degree helps, obviously, but more importantly is experience. So one tip they have is to start in a smaller firm and then transition into a bigger firm, or start in a law firm that's not business affairs or entertainment related necessarily, and then kind of work your way, like in a pivot once you've, you know, gained some traction. Then we have finding your path to physical production and beyond. So this would all be below the line stuff. You start as an intern, of course, a PA, production assistant, or an apprentice. They recommend that so that you have options to build your resume, your real portfolio, that you can complete a certain number of hours on non-union sets also, because that helps you get into guilds, and you should learn all the software you can if you're going for post-position jobs. And then for your first job, they recommend that you start, again, as an intern or a PA on a small, low-budget indie film, because they're more likely to hire someone with, like, no experience, basically, which makes sense. I agree with all that stuff. I don't really have anything to add. I'm now going to read off a ton of job categories, and I'll try to put some, like, pictures on so that way you can put a name to, like, an idea. We have the production staff. The production office is the administrative heart of a production, which houses all the necessary info for the production. Then there's assistant directors. Assistant directors do not direct. Instead, the first AD runs the set and creates the shooting schedule. The second AD wrangles the talent and handles their paperwork, and then set PAs report to this department. The camera department includes the director of photography, camera operators, who may or may not be the director of photography, assistants, DITs, and they translate the director's vision to the screen through images and lighting. Then we have set operations, electrical department, who supports the DP and how to light the shots. Grips are the muscle of the crew. There's the casting department, self-explanatory. Then we have set design. Production designer is the head of the department and works with the director and producer to create the visual style. The property department. So a prop is different from set dressing because set decorations are never touched by a performer for any reason. Again, self-explanatory would be wardrobe and then hair and makeup. Although you should always know that hair and makeup are going to be the actors' BFFs because they try to make them look their best. Production sound records all dialogue and audio effects during the shoot. SFX, special effects / mechanical effects, are the physical effects that happen on the set during the shooting versus created by a computer. Then there's catering and craft services, because a well-fed crew is a happy crew. Post-production, editors, VFX, visual effects, and music. Then beyond production, we have marketing and distribution. And then 2 other ones that are self-explanatory would be set construction and transportation. Now this may seem like so many options, and you might be like, okay, well, I'm not sure if I wanted to be above the line with the directors, producers, agents, lawyers, execs, or like what I love doing. So, and that's totally normal. It's okay to have an open mind, as the book calls it, to be a generalist. The point is, as long as you know you want to go into the industry, it makes sense to go to an industry hub. My brain is like not working. The 2-hour break like really threw me off with this video, but I don't have time to refilm it, so here goes. I hope it was still interesting, you learned something, and you are all hyped for the 3rd installment coming soon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below what you liked about it, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.